The following message is a PSA, or public service announcement, made under the grounds of a high school assignment and is an audio recording of a previously written and edited document made by me. Now, with no further ado, let us begin. Throughout the years, many people in our society, and societies of similar designs, have witnessed and developed the advancement of technology. The growing use and dependence of such technologies and devices spreading at an almost identical speed, if not just a bit behind. The issue presently addressed is whether such dependence is harmful, as well as how to prevent such negative effects from occurring. To help explain and further my point, Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451 will be heavily referenced throughout my explanation. In the world of this story, it is quickly and easily seen that the majority of the story's inhabitants hold several underlying and easily perceivable mental and personality disorders. The most easily seen of these are anxiety, depression, dissociative disorders, and violent disorders of unknown nature due to a lack of specifics given, but are heavily hinted at throughout the story. Now, to claim that just one factor can and is the cause of such a variety of disorders in a single or a group of individuals would be a claim not based on research, logic, or evidence, and would be irresponsible to make. No such claim will be made present in this announcement, but multiple factors do have their own effect, and of these factors is a device that grants an unhealthy lifestyle. That may cause a large contribution to the high concentration of the labeled and active disorders present. The technological advancements that is to be addressed are the parlor walls seen in Fahrenheit 451. If you do not know what these are and do, they are full wall screens of an undescribed design that portray video recordings, often interactive, and are meant to completely surround the user. These are often seen as never off, constantly babbling or portraying through prematurely recorded videos and adapting so that the participant or the user can also participate. The fact that they are constantly on is a problem all on its own, and helps the user develop or enhance the need for external stimulation. This in itself is an issue, as it can and has in the book caused the user, namely Mildred, to also develop a lack of interest and motivation in everyday life. This device can also cause overstimulation, and in someone with external stimulation dependence, this can become as addictive as most any drugs, as they themselves are unable to provide internal stimulation, thus giving the brain a release of endorphins and similarly acting chemicals that produce the feeling of joy and happiness. This helps grow an addiction, which enhances the original issue, only for the cycle to begin again and the problems and issues to be worsened until eventually an unhappy plateau is reached, where you can't get any higher and nothing else will work. An example of such dependence is Mildred, the main character of the story's wife, and the main example that shall continue to be used. Now, the first time we see Mildred is when she commits suicide, or attempts to, via swallowing an approximation of 40 sleeping medication tablets. Such tablets are removed and her life is spared, but the day afterwards, she disregards the very notion of her having had done it. This is a sign of disassociation, an unhealthy habit if any, and a common symptom of such disorder is to live a life of distraction and pretending to be someone else entirely. She shows this quite often, nearly never showing anything other than these habits, as she is always described as either speaking with the parlor walls or listening to her seashell radios, which are the story's equivalent of headphones. Now is when anxiety is spoken of, and yes, it is a disorder. And like most any other disorder, it can be worsened and grow like a virus in an otherwise healthy, unwilling participant. The anxiety that is often produced from the previously given examples is often from overstimulation or feeling of lack of control. In a subject, especially one with previously mentioned disorders and behaviors, which you either have remembered or can go back and rewind and hear again, the time spent away from the screen can cause a very unpleasant reaction. The sudden lack of stimulation, in this subject in particular, can cause the personal facade of joy, control, and self-image to temporarily fall, giving way for anxiety and depression, as well as suicidal tendencies. Given all that has been explained, and there is still much more that can be stated, the violent tendencies shall be left to your curiosity and imagination, as I do not feel the need to dive into the causes and actions that would come from such a mentality. Plus, I don't really want to get a bad score, and I don't think that some of those things are exactly school appropriate. So we're just going to skip it. The purpose of saying all of the previously done of this was meant to be an extreme example of a possible future for most anyone if let go too far down this path. This is not an anti-television or anti-video game advertisement, for any means of stimulation can cause these. Any external, in most cases, or even internal in much worse off, much more disturbed individuals can cause the previously mentioned disorders or worsen a previously existing one. If it is in your preference to have a more genuinely happy future, the answer is easy. I cannot speak for those with the larger disabilities and disorders to consider, for these factors are very, very big obstacles, and I don't have much experience or any at all concerning them. But I can give you some advice. But in which case that you do have one of these bad disorders, like a very, very bad one or a very, very large one, please disregard my answer and simply be aware of the effects to the things people take for granted and the things that you may do, as well as be aware that there are options for you. My answer is to not obsess on a single form of external entertainment and or stimulation, and to find enjoyment with other methods and means, healthier means. Play sports, get hobbies, hang out with your loved ones, build something, craft something, write a book, my personal favorite. Do something based on your own abilities. Yes, it may be difficult at first to switch from an external force or an external stimulation and enjoyment to an internal one. And no, I do not expect you or anyone to be able to do everything at once and be good at everything. But please try. There are people out there that care a lot about you. And it would be sad if any of the disorders or dysfunctions or any of the previously mentioned negative things or aspects, and anything else that Mildred is an example of, were to be portrayed by or on you. Now, if you've gotten this far, that was the end of the grading part. You don't have to finish up or end up anywhere else from here, Mrs. Phillips. But, wait, Mrs. There's none of my other two. Yeah. I suck at these. Anyway, so back to what I was going to say. This next part is a disclaimer and important message for the viewers other than the grader, though you are free to listen to it if you'd like. The things mentioned above, well, very likely with these circumstances and factors, are not a guarantee. Studies have shown that television, as well as other external methods of stimulation, can be very good for an individual. It's just that anything and everything, including food, water, etc., oxygen, pretty much anything, can be negative and is negative if overdosed. And yes, anything can be overdosed. It's not good. And it is bad for you. Please don't. It is not good for you. That's my video. Please give me a good grade.